Yeah, here we go. Rolling sound. What?
Hello, and welcome to Screen Talk. I'm your host, Richie McGuigan. Unfortunately, Michael Whiff wasn't able to join us today. If you're someone who loves to talk about movies and TV way too much, this is the place for you. On today's episode, I will be talking about my favorite and least favorite sequels. The first sequel I would like to talk about is one that I thoroughly enjoyed, Star Wars The Empire Strikes Back. The continuation of the first Star Wars, which was a very simple but impactful story in A New Hope, Episode 4. Episode 5 continues on and dives a little bit deeper into Darth Vader and his relationship with Luke Skywalker. And it is a great example of what to do when making a sequel, of continuing stories, not trying to be the first one, which was a great success as well. And it pulls on all of the right strings for me, and it pulls the right strings for Star Wars fans in general. I think I can speak to them. If you guys agree or disagree, please let me know in comments of YouTube, Instagram, Twitter. Now, before I continue, here is a quote from actor and film producer Colin Firth about sequels. "We all know the dangers of sequels. Lightning doesn't strike twice in the same place too often, and I think you've got to move beyond it, go the extra mile, and have the courage not just to repeat the first one." And this is very well said because of how many sequels try to be their predecessor. If it's not the first one, it's the best one of the series prior to this one coming out. Because there are multiple sequels that have been released that were better than the second one, but they're not better than the first one, or they're not better than the second one, and they're not better than the first one. It gets confusing. But the way that Colin Firth states this is perfect. You gotta take some risks when you're making a sequel. If you just make it like the first one, it may be well made and well received, but if it's not really that different, it's not gonna be memorable. And that's what you want to do. When you create a sequel of a great film, you want it to be as memorable as the first one. The next sequel that I think that was perfectly executed was Top Gun Maverick. Now, this was a slightly different situation than most sequels, I'd say, that are released nowadays, because Top Gun Maverick was released. The first Top Gun was released in the 80s, and it wasn't planned to be a part of like any sort of series. So when they announced that Top Gun Maverick was going to be released, almost exactly 30 years after the first one, it just makes it stand out in and of itself, whether the movie was good or bad. And it allows for a different kind of sequel to be told about. Now Maverick is old, not old, but Maverick is older, and he's more of a role model / people look up to him now, instead of him being just a pilot. But and for me, I liked it more than the first one, but the first one makes the second one better. Like, that's what I'm thinking. Like, I liked Maverick more than the first one, but the second one wouldn't have been anything without the first one. So it's kind of a, give and take. Like, do I really like the second one more, or is it really good because of the way that they continue the story 30 some odd years in the future, with these same characters and additional characters, obviously. Now moving on to sequels these few in particular that I definitely did not like, and that definitely either disappointed or just didn't need to be made. If you had ever seen the Escape Plan film with Arnold Schwarzenegger, Sylvester Stallone, a few others, the guy from Jurassic Park, I'm blanking on his name, but it was an interesting story. Like, it was throwback action flick with two big stars trying to escape from this unknown location of a prison. And it's actually pretty interesting how it all turns out. But the two sequels that they had made, I think 4 years after the first one, and then I think six years. I think the first one came out in 2013, then 2017, then 2019. And I remember I was pretty excited for the second one to come out, and you could easily tell it was lower budget. It was not well thought out. It is not well executed, not well acted. I mean, the stunt work is pretty good, but that's pretty much all that it has going for it. Sylvester Stallone's the only returning guy. Actually, no, 50 Cent, I think, is in returned in both. And then the other one was The Extractors, and they brought in Dave Bautista, and of course 50 Cent and Sylvester Stallone returned. They kind of did a little better of a job with that one, but it was just one of those where maybe they just wanted to redeem themselves and not have the Escape Plan 2 Hades movie be what the fans have seen last. So they did a little bit better of a job. They did a little bit more better of a story and a little bit more, blood and violence. What do you expect from a Sylvester Stallone movie at this point? Now, after this podcast is posted, we will post on all of our social media sites a poll for you guys to fill out, and it's going to include 3 options. If you're for or against sequels, or if you think it depends on the story, if it needs to continue. So if so, give a brief explanation. Now, sticking with Sylvester Stallone, I think I would consider myself a avid Expendables fan. Another throwback series, Sylvester Stallone, Arnold Schwarzenegger's in the first one a little bit, second one a little bit more, and the third one around the same as the second one. You got Dolph Lundgren, Terry Crews, who else? Jason Statham. A lot of guys that have appeared in, crazy, lot of violence and blood and all that stuff, in their careers, in their acting careers. But then they finally announced Expendables 4, and I don't think I mean, aside from like Marvel or Star Wars movies coming out, I don't think I had ever been more excited for a movie. And I walked in and it was so bad. It was like literally, I wanted it to be made. But after seeing it, I was like, why did they make this? And it was just such a shift of emotion for me. It didn't look good. I mean, it was acted fine. I mean, they brought in Megan Fox to play more of a leader role. It was such a weird character. Like, it wasn't even because it was Megan Fox, but it was just, I don't know, man. It was bad. It was so bad that and Sylvester Stallone wasn't even really in it. I understand that they were trying to make it more of Jason Statham's character, like have him take over, but they did it in such a weird and crappy way, and it was just bad. It's like, I don't like to use the word like bad, but because it's very simple and like almost lazy, but it's just bad. Like, don't see it, don't rent it, don't waste your 2 hours of your life to watch this. I would highly recommend watching the first 2. And the third one was a little bit more, they rated it PG-13. The first 2 are R, but they had like a lot of violence. And if you like Sylvester Stallone movies, watch those first 2. And the third one is hit or miss. I mean, I liked it. I liked the acting. I liked the characters in it. But Expendables 4 doesn't bring back the same characters, a majority of them, and it just tells a stupid story in a stupid way. I hate how much I hate it because I have how much I love the first 3. But there you have it. There's my take on a few sequels that I've liked and a few sequels that I didn't like. For more info, follow us on Twitter or X, Instagram, and YouTube. Be sure to tune in to next week's episode where we will talk about our favorite directors. Thank you for listening, everybody.